This is part of the newly released what's called Every Nevadan Recovery Framework that came earlier today from the governor's office. Basically, it explains where Nevada will focus its share of the money from the American Rescue Plan.
Anyone who's been on the front line, our first responders, they didn't have the luxury of staying home.
Representative Susie Lee hosting a briefing today to explain where money from Nevada's $2.95 billion share of the American Rescue Plan will be focused. Agencies like Metro have seen their revenue stream nearly evaporate, resulting in a $19 million shortfall.
It's the reduced revenues as a result of us not having tax revenues from travel and tourism. And so, it's important to make sure they have the resources they need to keep our community safe.
Sheriff Joe Lombardo says he's been forced to make civilian layoffs during the pandemic. And without this additional funding coming to Clark County, he might have been forced to start laying off officers.
The Relief Act is beneficial in the fact that we are receiving money to help us, and I have assurances from the city and the county that money will be reimbursed and funneled in the appropriate direction to help me seek that relief.
In addition to funding first responders, the Every Nevadan Recovery Framework also calls for additional spending to help K-12 children return to school. It also continues the state's vaccination programs and provides Clark County with funding for assistance in programs like housing.
Well, the $439 million that we anticipate getting over the next year in Clark County alone will be a huge benefit in that Lifeline program that's been there for our residents for the last several months. And we anticipate very soon, once the moratorium ends, to have about another 60,000 homes in need.
That's right, Jim. Good evening. Las Vegas, good to see you. This bill is setting up what promises to be a big battle in Congress. If you want to get the lowdown on the Biden infrastructure bill called the American Jobs Plan, who better to talk to than the Secretary of Labor? Marty Walsh is the former mayor of Boston. He's been in the job just over a week. So my first question, how many jobs will this plan produce here in Nevada?
We're still looking at what the impacts are. This is a plan. There's still a long way to go before we finalize the plan. We have to work with members of Congress. We will, as we continue down this path, we will have more defined numbers on what it would mean for Nevada.
So the specifics are coming, but this is a $2 trillion bill. There's plenty of work here it could pay for.
I could help with all sorts of things.
That's Tony Ilya with NDOT, which is responsible for our state's highways and bridges.
Namely I-15. There are plans for future I-15 widenings, a segment between Sahara and Flamingo, and then another segment further south.
It's our main streets that need new pipelines, new water lines. All that was going to be great for us.
Says Tommy White, the head of Laborers Local 872. He says it means jobs for his members. The bill could also jumpstart construction for the still in its infancy I-11, which would link Phoenix with Las Vegas. Of the $2 trillion, $621 billion goes to improving transportation. $80 billion goes to improving Amtrak, which said Wednesday it would use some of that money to add new service between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. For a city born from a railroad, we haven't had passenger rail since 1997.
It's important that our rail in our country needs help and needs investment, and the president's made a real commitment here to making that investment.
Well, simply put, Jim, we don't have a lot of treatment options for COVID-19, and the ones we do have, you have to go all the way to a hospital to get. But this one, you can get right at your home.
It's a little brown pill, but for doctors.
Something like this will just completely transform how severe the illness is, what we can do at home, even prevention.
It's also a dose of hope.
It would be a godsend.
It's called Molnupiravir, developed by drugmakers Ridgeback Biotherapeutics and Merck. Researchers tout it as a kind of Tamiflu for COVID. Take a few pills at home for a few days to feel better.
You would be able to take it if you started feeling sick, and it would stop the virus from replicating, and you would no longer have the threat of the disease.
While vaccines are rolling out in record numbers, Dr. David Rawlings with Roseman University explains having a treatment on hand is crucial to controlling COVID.
We still don't know how long the vaccination is going to be good for in a person.
If COVID is going to be annual, we can't just rely on vaccination, especially since some people aren't getting the vaccine.
Dr. Dahlia Walk says the hope is Molnupiravir could ward off hospitalizations and better treat mild cases.
It is exciting because we need, the big question I've gotten all year long and last year is, I was diagnosed with COVID, now what? Give me medication, give me antibiotics.
So far, the drug has completed 2 of 3 phases in clinical trials. And while preliminary data looks promising, Dr. Rollins admits more research needs to be done.
It looks encouraging, but it's early data. It's promising. We'll see.
In the beginning of the pandemic, we were thinking how we are going to survive, because arts and entertainment, they were so we were literally put aside.
It's the distraction we can all use right now. Something to touch the soul, a beauty in just being. Here inside the Cashman Center COVID-19 vaccination site, hardly what you'd expect along with your shot in the arm. A free concert, courtesy the Henderson Symphony Orchestra.
The philosophy is whenever you need us, we will be there.
Alexandra Arieche is conductor and music director, who says the orchestra went nearly a full year without performing. COVID sidelining live shows. To be here now in this unusual venue, almost destined.
We know that music heals, so it's part it's like air, it's necessary. But you don't know that's necessary until you don't have it.
The concert is the brainchild of site PIO John Clausen, who noticed something almost sad as patients sat and waited out their 15 minutes after getting a shot.
Every single person, 100 out of 100, were just sitting there staring at their phone.
Now he's hoping they'll look up, and it's possible other entertainers will be brought in as well.
Come on, give me an opportunity to showcase you, and that's what I'll do.
As far as vaccines go, Clausen says he'd like to see more people sign up. This site now averaging about 2,500 patients a day. There's the capacity for nearly 10,000.
We could take more.
People like Kiara Scala, who says the music helped calm her nerves.
This is just an amazing, it's so wonderful. I have to go to work, but I want to stay here another 5 minutes.
The orchestra can't perform every day, of course. These are true pop-up performances. But with the help of private donations, musicians hope to return as much as possible.
The soundtrack of another day at the clinic, fighting back a worldwide pandemic, one note at a time. Denise Roche, News 3.
Hi everybody, I'm Reed Cowan from News 3 Las Vegas. We want to thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. Remember, you can always see more of our videos by clicking on the video links. And also don't forget to click that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of our YouTube updates. Thanks for watching.